So then I left my job and started ChapterApps. India's training people for KBC type exams, multiple choice,
Competitive exams, all
competition exams. So if you really look at how the majority of this youth in the country are learning, they are learning by taking assessments. Duolingo has trained 200 million people on new languages without a book. And it's like
Correct.
I'm going for a meeting, I'm outside, I just a couple of questions came to my mind, I'll type
Correct.
on my phone, I'll get the answer, and I will be prepared for the meeting. So critical thinking is something that AI can be leveraged because asking the right question can revolutionize any job.
Joining us today is Rohit Kumar, founder of ChapterApps, an AI-powered learning solution used by more than 60 organizations worldwide. Rohit is a graduate from IIT Roorkee and an MBA from Wharton. Rohit has also worked at leadership positions at companies like BCG, Microsoft, and Wipro. Welcome to the podcast, Rohit.
Thank you, Swati. Pleasure to be here.
Same here, same here. Very excited to be asking you a lot of questions about ChapterApps. But before that, let me start with your journey. You have all the brands behind you, right? You did your graduation from IIT Roorkee, then you are a Wharton MBA, you worked at BCG, Microsoft, Wipro. How did the journey to entrepreneurship happen?
You know, I think it was probably linked to my first job at Anderson Consulting, which is now Accenture. I was the first employee of Anderson Consulting in New Delhi under the manager who became the MD later, Sanjay Jain. Right, so I was his first hire, and he still meets me and he calls me as, you're number one. And I think at that point in time, having being in a new office and figuring out what to do, you're getting involved with proposals, you're getting involved with going and meeting clients, and then you get placed on an engagement. So suddenly you are realizing the value of being in a small team. And then I got transferred to Istanbul, which was a larger office at that point in time. All of India, I think I was employee number 44. And Istanbul was maybe 60 people at that time. And went to Istanbul and started seeing how big offices are. And when I came back, Delhi had like 10 people by then. And I was enjoying being a leader amongst those 10 people. I had more responsibility. I had more experience. So I realized that my calling is probably working in smaller organizations. And whenever I worked for all the big brands, it was always a small team or a new team in a big company. So even at Oracle, I was working in a very small internet products group in 96, and even when, whatever I did since then, I knew I always wanted to start my own company.
Okay, and that's how ChapterApps started.
That's how ChapterApps came along.
So tell us more, like when you started, what the idea was, how did it evolve, and now with the use of AI, how is it actually being used by the organizations?
Sure. So very quickly, I ended up at Reed Elsevier, which was one of the best companies I've ever worked in. It's all Nobel laureates published with Elsevier, all college best textbooks in medical, dental, nursing are all Elsevier books. And so you started realizing that print books are declining worldwide. So I actually conceived of a digital learning platform at that point in time with content, with videos.
This was which year?
2009.
Okay.
And we got the funding to do it within Elsevier. And then when we launched it, this is pre-tablet, pre-smartphones. Just in perspective, iPhone came in 2009. Till then, smartphones, was
Correct.
just really starting.
People were using the Blackberries and
Blackberries, right? So we had built everything for the desktop, and it took many years to build the content, etc. So by the time we took it to market, students, there was Wi-Fi in classrooms was terrible. There was no Wi-Fi in hostels, and all the students said, can I? And smartphones by 2013 had started.
Correct.
And students said, will it work offline? Can I do it in my hostel room at night? Don't give me an institutional subscription. Give me something I can use on my own. So, and I realized this was something that was best done outside as an entrepreneur. So it took me a year to make up my mind, and I had gone to UWeb Incubator in Silicon Valley, and they loved the idea, and they said, "Why don't you come and present it?" And I got accepted into the accelerator, and so then I left my job and started uh, ChapterApps, with the idea being that people would not buy books anymore; they'd buy chapters at a time online,
Fair.
only digital, right? And it was based on the fact that smartphones would, most content in the world would be consumed on smartphones. I think all those trends have played out exactly like we had predicted.
So on mobile, learn on the go, shorter modules,
Correct.
chapters.
Absolutely. So it was all bite-sized learning,
Long before people started Instagram.
long before, people really, I mean, long before Reels, right?
Correct,
Long before
correct.
Reels. And that was the concept, right? Now, as you go through being an entrepreneur, you realize you have to fit 2, 3 things, right? Who's going to consume it, who's going to pay for it, and how you're going to really build a business on it. So we went from students to the enterprise market, which is where we have been. And
Fair. And talk about then clients, like who your clients are and what do they use it for?
Right. So the core platform has been used for training and onboarding new employees and third-party distributors in all sectors. I would say manufacturing, financial services, insurance, retail, healthcare. Right. It's across the board. The demand is across the board. Uh, when that started getting adopted, one of the patterns we noticed was that people would leave the video midway, but they take the assessment multiple times.
Okay, so they don't
Right.
want to learn, but they want to assess themselves.
Well, because if you put in perspective, what's India training people for? India's training people for KBC type exams, multiple choice,
Competitive exams, all
competition exams. So if you really look at how the majority of this youth in the country are learning, they are learning by taking assessments. They are not learning by reading a lot and getting the concepts completely clear. Some of them obviously are,
the time. Correct.
but the majority of them will take it again and again and then understand and then
Where,
remember
where
the
am I
answer.
lacking? What do I need to cover?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so that's really how people are learning, and that's something that became an insight to say Duolingo has trained 200 million people on new languages without a book.
Correct. It's
Without-
all assessment, no? Right,
It's all
wrong.
assessment. It's all
Correct.
assessment. So then we said that's where we will focus on. It's very simple, but people find it hard to believe that you don't have to make expensive video content and you don't have to make all these courses. They still have to, but they feel very nervous if you say it's only assessment-based learning.
So yours is now only assessment based?
No, we do everything.
You do everything.
But what we see is where you get the maximum time from a user on the platform is taking the assessment again and again.
Fair. Now let's shift gears a little bit, right? I think the past 2 years have been changing a lot of industries, and I think changing is not the word. Maybe it's transforming a lot of industries. And our hypothesis, being in the field of education, is that education is one of those industries that will benefit a lot from the use of AI. And I know that you have also pivoted a lot, and AI is now part of your offering. So tell us more about how you have integrated AI in your business and how are your clients using it.
Sure. So, the journey through AI also happened because one of our sister companies in the incubator at UWeb in Palo Alto had been building an AI auto RAG model along with a truth checker, because all models hallucinate, right? So they were applying it to different use cases, and I said, could I actually license it from you and take it to our customers? And the hypothesis to customers was that we have all your training content. We are training your employees on your products, your processes, how to really do your job better, whatever the job might be. And but if you forget or you've missed a training, and it was 1 year ago, and you're in front of a customer and you say, I know I heard this in the classroom, but I don't remember it now. What if you actually could have ChatGPT for your own content? So in January 23, 2 years ago, we actually started conceiving this idea, and we started doing some market testing as well. And then we realized that this is sort of where it'll be. So we've been doing POCs and pilots for over a year now. and we are live at a large financial services company where they're training, not training, but where 40,000 people have access to all the corporate knowledge base on their phones or any devices that the company has authorized access through. Now it's being put on the corporate WhatsApp channel, it's being put on other applications that people use every day. The same knowledge base is now available there. So it's a sales assistant for people in sales. It's a knowledge assistant for people in customer service. It's for if you're in any other department, it could be a product assist or a process assist. So the use cases are just multiplying.
So basically, you're saying, think of, and I think I can replicate it to a lot of organizations. So think of any big organization with an army of salespeople or customer service people. And obviously, there is a limit to how much a human can learn, right?
Absolutely.
And if somebody's just come in new, they'll take months to be able to become that proficient. And here you have an AI assistant that whatever question you ask, like a ChatGPT, it is going to give you the answer, which then you can probably give it to the customer that you're in touch with, and it'll give you answer in seconds.
Absolutely. And it's like
Correct.
I'm going for a meeting, I'm outside, I just a couple of questions came to my mind, I'll type
Correct.
on my phone, I'll get the answer, and I will be prepared for the meeting. Or
Yeah.
if a customer asks me, does your product have this? Or what if I don't want this?
Yeah.
Then you have that option as well.
Correct. It then probably reduces the training time a lot and also enhances the effectiveness of your sales cycle, right?
Absolutely. It's about employee. So if the holy grail is employee productivity,
Yeah.
right? Everyone's looking to say, how can I improve productivity by 25%? And BCG has studies where they're saying it has impacted very positively, and especially in the consulting world, that's very true. And again, it's like you can start things off much faster. You can move the needle faster on whatever your project is that you have to do. So similarly, I think for salespeople, for customer service people, and for companies to really take the level of their net promoter scores higher, this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
the simplest and the most important thing to do.
Fair. I think if I compare it to the 1990s, right, when compare it to going to libraries and finding information, which used to take hours, versus when Google came in and we said,
Absolutely.
oh, you can get answers in a minute or,
Absolutely.
like 5 minutes of search. Now we are saying have very specific use case of that organization's content. Can you just get it?
Can you get it anytime, anywhere,
Fair. So this use case is very understandable, and I think everybody's talking a lot about enhancing the productivity, and a lot of GCCs, are getting disrupted because of it. Now, tell us about more use cases that come to your mind in terms of maybe enhancing employee productivity or just the way we all work. How is AI going to disrupt that?
So I think the most critical thing is actually critical thinking, right? So critical thinking is something that AI can be leveraged because you have to think about what prompt to ask, right? So asking the right question can revolutionize any job, because if you know the right question to ask, you can apply it in any part of your work. So for instance, if there's an office receptionist and they are new and they're temping for somebody, they can actually start learning the process of what to do if there is an exception. Somebody's come, they don't have the right, whatever, they don't have a mobile
Access, appointment.
access, etc., right? And how do you get the approvals done, right? So how do you just synthesize that knowledge? And I think the most important thing will be how people start thinking about how to leverage technology. So I'll give you a simple example. When calculators were introduced in schools, and I think the US introduced them before any other country, I think India still probably hasn't introduced calculators till class 10 at
Coaching
least.
centers have, schools haven't.
Right?
True.
Now, the kind of problems that the examination had to be changed,
Yeah.
right? Because now everyone can
Calculate. So you're not
Calculate.
testing the calculating skills.
correct. Whereas as Indians, we grew up learning, memorizing tables,
Tables.
and being able to do mental math and doing all
Yeah.
these things. Now, what is the most important thing? And I'm sure at least when I as an engineer started learning economics, the thing I realized was what do you multiply with and what do you divide with to get the right thing?
Correct.
The calculator is there, but do you actually understand that
The
concept?
concept.
The concept. So I think what's really going to be disrupted is how people are taught the concept.
That clarity of what exactly I need
Exactly.
and what
Exactly.
information I need to know to be able to solve.
To solve it, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't ask the right question, you won't be able to solve it as well as someone else who will be able to.
And integrating AI into your business, has that also changed the kind of tech people that you're hiring?
Absolutely, because AI engineers are considered a very special breed right now, right?
And they're very few as well.
And there are very few as well, because the whole LLM models are only 2 years old since ChatGPT introduced, and then Llama introduced, and then the others came along. So it's all very, very new at this point in time, right? Relatively speaking. So what we are finding is that it's actually better to hire masters who have done a specialization in AI or prompt engineering or LLM models, because they have at least done more practical research papers. Plus, because they are slightly older, they are probably able to apply it more to real world situations.
They have the experience, right?
They
Of
have-
the industry plus the academia.
Right. They may, and even if they don't have the experience, just as you mature a little bit, you get exposed to more things of how the world works, right, and how things work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And therefore, they're able to apply it faster and better. So at least that's what we have discovered early success with, is hiring masters,
Especially in AI.
especially in AI.
Fair, fair. Now let's go to, a point that we were talking about earlier, which was about lifelong learning, right? And this is a trend that even at Masters Union we think about, is that probably the world is going to look at degrees and education in a very different way. Today we go to school, we go to college, then we go to a job, and we feel that our education is complete. But now, with every 10 years, 15 years, the world changing so fast that, like 15 years back, if you did computer engineering and you didn't upskill yourself, today I don't think those skills apply. Right?
No, absolutely.
So, how are you thinking about helping the companies upskill their employees? And what is your opinion of how people will go and educate themselves?
So I think curiosity will take people to wherever they go and educate themselves. But more importantly, I think how companies are starting to think, the early leaders, is you put the tool in the hands of more people, and you'll start discovering more use cases from the people, because they will come with their own expectations of what they want. And it's quite amazing. When we rolled out our first AI project, we thought, people will come and ask whatever questions they need to sell, right? Instead, they came back and said, I have a 35-year-old customer who has 2 children, should they buy a retirement plan, or should they invest in mutual funds, or should they do this, right? And now that's a real world problem that the customer asked probably.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Or somebody was wrestling with this issue saying, I don't know, because I don't know anything about mutual funds. I just know about retirement plans, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So those are the kind of things that when you put the tool in the hands of people, you start discovering the new applications and the new use cases. And I think, as they say, the 70-20-10 model, right? 70% is on the job. 20% is through mentoring and 10% is really what you're taught inside classrooms or through assessments and things, right? So it's very important to get this in the hands of the right people and in each company.
So that the learning can become faster.
So learning is faster. The culture of the company changes because of that.
Yeah, because now you don't have to think, okay, I will go back and learn this. Now you're like, okay, I need it now. Let me just learn it now.
Correct. And what happens is, if you think about it, the biggest struggle, that I was having with my children because they weren't reading as much, right? But when you ask about world affairs and you ask about things that are going on in the world, they're completely up to date. In fact, they probably know many more things because they're not reading newspapers, they're not reading other things, but they're consuming things on their phones, on whether it's
Twitter,
Insta, YouTube, whatever, right? And I myself have shifted from a TV watcher to being a YouTube consumer because I'm finding that now you actually get relatively authentic sources, people who believe in what they're doing.
Plus, it's also personalized.
Correct, it's totally personalized.
TV, I mean, millions of people getting the same content versus your YouTube showing you recommendations that it knows that you will like.
That knows, yeah, I mean, and I wish it would give me more
Yeah, okay,
than
fair.
constrain me to a few, but yeah, but it has picked up what I like to watch, and then, those things keep popping up.
Fair. Now, I think a question that a lot of us have been asking is that, we hear this that AI is going to take away jobs, right? In the context of education, and we at Masters Union are also asking this, will there be a world where AI has taken over teachers?
Well, I think it will not take over teachers, right? But it will solve a problem of anytime, anywhere doubt clearing, right? So, what is a common student behavior? You will start learning in the last 24 hours before the exam,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And at midnight, and you're prepared to do an all nighter, you have doubts. Who do you go to? That is what I think AI is going to solve.
So AI is replacing that topper of the class where you
Not-
used to go to
Correct,
and say
correct.
कि मेरा doubt clear कर दे.
Correct. And there are
Right.
companies that were formed in the last
Correct.
5-10 years who were solving
doubts.
doubt
True.
clearing sessions, and
Yeah.
all
A lot
those
of
things.
edtech startups did that.
Right? And a lot of edtech startups did that. So, and our incubator has a product for math like this called Math GPT,
Oh, okay.
which is actually helping college students in the US, community college students in the US,
Solve their math stuff.
solve math problems, and their grades are going up. That's the observation. And there's a very interesting article in Forbes about MathGPT and Peter Allen, the founder of the incubator.
So you're kind of democratizing the tutoring space as well, right? Because now you don't, even if you don't have access to a tutor, this is your personalized tutor anywhere, anytime, 24/7.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I think this is low hanging fruit. I think this is one of the first things that we will see more and more adoptions on.
Fair, a very valid use case. Now, what's next for you at ChapterApps then? I mean, you've grown it from a B2C learning platform to being an enterprise solution for your clients and now integrating AI. What's the next 10 years looking like for you?
Well, I think how AI will be applied is really where I'd love to spend more of my time on, right? And solving the problems that come with that, or where people need help with that, whether it's a large company, mid-sized company, small company. Everyone needs it. And the technology makes it far easier than ever before to do things. It's literally like a magic wand, right? Like, give me something, make me a video that does this, etc. It's those applications of how companies will want to do it.
Customize solutions for them using AI.
Correct. That's really, I think, where the real excitement will be.
Fair. Any last words for our audience who are now learning AI and getting into the AI world?
Well, hone your critical thinking skills, right? Do whatever it takes to be more inquisitive, to think, to analyze, because that will help you ask this magic genie whatever you need to get done.
Fair. Thank you so much, Rohit, for taking out the time today. Really loved knowing about the AI use cases in education and at the large tech companies as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Swati. Pleasure to be here.